Today in American politics, a new debate is heating up inside the Democratic Party about its future leaders after 2024 and 2028. Some reports claim that Governor Gavin Newsom is facing quiet resistance from other Democrats, who think his progressive positions are out of touch with many voters. But while Democrats argue about the next election cycle, Republicans say they should not lose focus on what just happened. Donald Trump did not just barely win. He carried all 7 key swing states, something a Republican has not done in many years. Republicans argue that this was not an accident, but a clear rejection of the last Democratic administration's policies. Conservative strategists are warning their own party not to become lazy. They say Republicans cannot simply point at Democratic mistakes or woke politics and expect to win automatically. Instead, they must clearly explain what they have delivered and what they plan to do next, especially on the economy, taxes, and the border. Supporters of Trump say that one major selling point is his new economic agenda. They highlight ideas like no tax on tips, protection of overtime pay, and reforms to Social Security and the tax code that are planned to roll out fully by 2026. In their view, Democrats created many of today's economic problems, while Trump is running on a simple message: they broke it, I'll fix it. They also place a lot of responsibility on Vice President Kamala Harris for the last administration's record. Critics say she was in the room when the border became more open and chaotic, when billions were spent on programs they see as unnecessary, and when diversity and ESG-style priorities were put ahead of energy independence and strong foreign policy. In their argument, she owns a big share of the decisions that shaped the border crisis, the Ukraine conflict, and instability in the Middle East. Because of that record, these commentators say the question is not just about poll numbers, but about performance. Harris had 4 years in the number 2 position, and her opponents claim she left voters underwhelmed. In conservative media, she is often turned into a political punchline, used as an example of what they think is wrong with current Democratic leadership. Republicans also argue that Democrats have a weak bench for the future. They say the party is full of politicians with heavy political baggage, but no one who can match what they call Trump's record: tightening the southern border, cutting taxes, and keeping major wars from breaking out while he was in office. When you compare that, they claim, Democrats look small and divided. Looking ahead, Trump allies are optimistic about the economy. They predict that as the country moves into 2026, growth in the first and second quarters could feel like a rocket taking off. If that happens, they believe every Republican candidate should be telling one clear story: that the economy is rebounding, that Trump's policies made it possible, and that Republicans, not Democrats, are best prepared to guide the country through the next chapter. At the same time, Trump is continuing his legal battles with major media companies. New reports say he is now suing the BBC for several $billion, accusing the network of editing his January 6th speech in a way that made it look like he was calling for violence. His lawyers argue that this was not just unfair editing, but a serious act of defamation. Trump's team points out that this is not the first time he has taken on big media outlets in court. They say he has already forced major platforms and networks to pay settlements or apologize when they misrepresented him or censored him while he was president. In their telling, this is part of a larger fight against what they call extreme Trump derangement syndrome in the press, an obsession that makes some journalists and executives cross ethical lines just to damage his reputation. For viewers and voters, all of this sets the stage for a highly charged political season. On one side, Democrats are trying to define their next generation of leaders. On the other side, Republicans are working to turn Trump's policy record and ongoing media battles into a story of strength, resilience, and economic comeback. How Americans judge that contrast will help decide not only the next election, but the direction of the country for years to come.